Hi students, so this is Professor M, and I'm going to talk about the literacy essay or literacy memoir. Apologize for the glare. Let's go over some of the basics. Hoping you can see that, the board okay. So, literacy memoir essay basics. You've got to know MLA format. So you should know in the top left, you start with, the 1-inch margins all the way around, set it up, format it, and put your name. My name, Professor Murphy. Let's see. So you need your name, instructor's name. Boy, drawing a blank here. Let's see. What do you put next? Course, and then due date. Okay, sorry about that. So when you put the date, like today's date is what? The 20th. So you put 20 August. You can abbreviate August, but just put a period, do correct abbreviation, and then the year. So please do that correctly. Try to get your name over here, just last name and page number. Go to insert and then page numbers and try to do that. I'm not going to spend too much time about that, but because that's hard, especially if you have a Mac or using Google Docs. I think it's tough. Now look, center a title. Have a catchy title. Okay. All right. So let me continue with some of the other basics. 12-point font. Use something readable like Times New Roman. That's fine. What else do you need here? So the basics, MLA format. Now look, check your paper before you upload it. Make sure it doesn't have capitalization, punctuation errors, because I'm not gonna, if I see a lot of those, I'm not gonna grade it. I mean, this is not high school anymore. You need to be prepared. It makes a difference, okay? Even if the rest of the culture is not paying attention to capitalization. Okay, 3 pages in length. So you're going to be telling a story. So what are you going to tell a story about? It could be just the traditional reading, writing. How did you learn to read? Oh, Miss Johnson started teaching us zoophonics in 1st grade and blah, blah, blah. So you can tell a story. As far as thesis, you want to capture your position on the topic in some way. So for example, the reason I call myself Professor M is after the TV show Professor T, a guy that he's autistic, but he also speaks like 3 or 4 languages, and it's just, to me, that's always been pretty incredible. More so than, say, my family's full of engineers, but they've always been fascinated with languages too. And if you look at that, our trouble in Afghanistan, not knowing the history and the language, same as in Iraq, not knowing the history, not knowing the language, not knowing the customs. So all that could come into play here. So if you want to do a traditional one about reading, writing, or technology, you can do that. Technology would be interesting. When did you first learn about technology? Were you born with I was going to say iPod, but dating myself. iPhone in your hand, or a flip phone maybe. Okay, so you could talk about how you learned to use technology. Where are you with that now? What have you learned from that? What's important on that? Is it the social media stuff, keeping in contact, making new friends, etc.? Okay. So what I would focus on, learning languages, first I learned English, then high school, actually from the influence of my grandmother who spoke like 4 languages. Then I started learning French. I was pretty good. And then at college I took another year of French. Then I moved to California in 1989 and I started learning Spanish. And I only took 1 class in Ensenada for like 5 weeks. And then just having to speak it, living on the border in Calexico for 12 years, I had to speak it because I was a teacher. The students, a lot of them at that time didn't speak English, and the parents less so. So I had to learn Spanish to at least basic communication. You go in and try to order a hamburger, they don't know that. You got to say hamburguesa, okay? Con queso, plain con queso, okay? All right. So language is really important to me. Now with my son, he's learning Arabic. I'm thinking about learning more ancient Greek and going from there. So for me, that's important. Now, a couple of professional writers. Amy Tan, she wrote a book about, I forget the name of it, but it's about learning English, learning the customs in America, or being the child of very traditional Chinese parents. And she's less so. She's kind of the rebel in America, and so she writes about that. Now, if you've ever read Richard Rodriguez, used to be on PBS, from San Francisco, he wrote Hunger of Memory, that's what it is. So Spanish he spoke at home, but then at school with the nuns, he went to Catholic school, he spoke English. So it was like these two worlds. But in addition to that, the two cultures, kind of Spanish culture at home, Catholic English culture at school, he makes hints about gay culture, the fact that he was gay, he had to kind of hide it because his parents are very traditional Mexican Americans, I believe. And so there's that. So you could bring in so any kind of cultural differences that you think, stick out with you, you can do that. There's also, there was an essay I was going to post that said, written by East Indian woman. So she talked about her culture at home versus outside the home and in school, how at home, very traditional foods, traditional clothes, traditional colors, very religious in their own way. How everything was kind of controlled, and then at school everything was pretty different, English. Okay, so you could write about those contrasts in your life, however you define culture. Some of you could talk about social media culture and the technology part. And you could just talk about your life face-to-face versus social media, which I think is a big issue right now. Okay, so overall, tell a story. Proofread, get rid of all those mistakes. I'm not going to tolerate that stuff where I'm just reading over and over with essays, no capitalization, no punctuation. So you're going to have to learn it. And so tell a story. It can be about your life, your face-to-face life versus technology. It could be Spanish versus American culture, however you want to do it. If you learn Spanish first, then you can write about that, how you transition to English. That's excellent. And the same with other languages too. Okay? And then conclude with a lesson. Okay? So conclude with a lesson. What's the lesson of all this? The fact that you're living in two cultures, social media, plus this face-to-face culture. What is important about that? Or Spanish culture at home, American culture at school, outside the house. Okay. So, again, make sure you know MLA. And I'll be posting some different books. So forget about the bookstore. I'll just post the books and recalibrate and go from there. But it'll be a book that explains MLA. Now look, also, if you don't know what MLA is, Google it. If you couldn't follow what I was saying here, then find a short YouTube video that explains it, okay? What do you normally do when you want to learn how to tie a tie? Well, then you go to YouTube. You want to learn how to change a tire? Well, you go to YouTube. Same thing here. Okay, I'm going to conclude, and good luck. See you Monday. Bye.